Westchester Tournament of Champions wrap-up show.
Yes, it was a great show. It was a great tournament, and as always, the SSA puts the greatest show on dirt. What do you think?
Well, I'm not going to argue with you.
Well, guess what? You're a smart man.
Well, thank you, Jerry. I appreciate the kind words. But so before we get into it, as usual, I did want to point out that we love softball here at the SSA. And if you ever have any questions about how to start a league, or if you have a tournament and you'd like us to get involved, maybe do some live streaming or promote it, we'll be more than happy to vet you. And like I said, or if you just want to be a corporate partner and you want to see how you can get involved, you can email us at info@ssasoftball.com, or you can give me a call at 708-807-7043. So we got that out of the way a little bit, and I do want to also give a shout out to a couple of sponsors. Of course, Sweet Buzz, our anchor partner for the Chicago Summer Series, and disregard the date at the top. I just noticed a little mistake there, but they've been with us since we started the Summer Series. Nick Drabel with Moneyline, part owner of that company. If you're an adult and you use infused products, check them out. They're under the Dresco Farms banner, and they've got all kinds of products. Please use them responsibly. And of course, a new corporate sponsor, Cut Shot Softball Bats, the official 16-inch bat of the Slow Pitch Softball Association. If you want to check out their merch, you can go to cutshotsports.com, and they're also donating bats for our MVPs and batting champs at our national championship tournament. Very generous. Mikey Heinrichs, a member of the Chuck softball team, owner of that company. He heard there was a need and a demand for 16-inch softball bats, and he created a company to create them, and they seem like they're getting more popular every day, so check them out. So back to the TOC, Jerry, now that we paid a few bills. I thought it was a pretty good tournament, and we'll put the top 4 finishers up on the screen for everybody to take a look at. Fat Kids, of course, won the event.
Congratulations.
Yeah, they played great, and we'll talk about them in a second here. Hex was the runner-up. The only 2 games they lost were to the Fat Kids, right. And then third place was the 45s, and finishing 4th, Flashback. So those were the top 4 finishers, but you know, it's important to note all of those 4 teams did it in a little different way. Fat Kids really didn't score that many runs. I think the most at-bats that anybody on their team had during the weekend was 17. And as we get to the leaders after one leg of the Summer Series, we have guys that had 18 hits, let alone plate appearances. But what the Fat Kids did is they played the game the right way. They ran the gauntlet, man. They had a brutal draw, and they beat Chucks. They beat who they beat? Flashback. They beat Signature. They beat Hex twice. So they did it the hard way, and they had 2 games that were a little higher scoring on Sunday with Hex, but for the most part, their scores were low scoring. They took advantage of mistakes. Their defense was on point, and they really played well as a team, which, you know, we used to see more teams play that way. Mm-hmm. And people are going to laugh at me, but they reminded me, here it comes, about my Mudville teams.
Jeez.
Because we played good defense, didn't make a lot of mistakes, and couldn't hit very much. But I mean, so I personally enjoyed watching them play, and I think Angelo Feliciano
was outstanding.
If he's not already one of the elite pitchers in the game, he should be. And
he was simply outstanding.
Yeah, and I actually thought he might have been had an opportunity to be a co-MVP or the outright MVP. But Anthony Misek, Noach got the MVP.
He had a great tournament too.
He did. He had a great tournament. Anthony Stacy had a great tournament
Yes,
for
he did.
Hex. Or Hex, excuse me, the Fat Kids.
Fat Kids.
But when you look at them, they didn't have overall gaudy numbers, but guys were stepping up when they needed it too. And it was, I'm excited to see them at the North-South to see if they're going to sustain it. But they're off to a great start. They're playing great softball right now.
Well, I want to say this one thing about the Fat Kids, and just to quote the great Michael Jeffrey Jordan, as he told Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, there's a new sheriff in town. And that might be the Fat Kids. So they had a great tournament. I don't see anything else. The sky's the limit. When they got I can't say Chippy, Brian Kornikowski seemed to stabilize everything for them. And when things got a little, I wouldn't say rough, but when things got a little, let's say, ragged or something, he stepped right in and smoothed everything over, and they all stepped up and played very well. But a special shout out to that pitching. Pitching might be one of the most underrated pitchers, my most underrated position in softball. But you've been blessed. You had a plethora of great pitchers on Mudville and Flash.
I did. I was a pig about pitching. I always wanted to have guys that not only were competitive and controlled the game, but a lot of the pitcher's attitude rubs off on the entire squad.
Yes, it does.
The team tends to get aggravated. And, Angelo's really the last 3 or 4 years grown up, his demeanor on the mound. Guy makes an error, he's, supportive. He's not giving him the fisheye and throwing anybody under the bus. And they got a nice group. They're very together, and it's going to be fun. And I think what people don't understand is they did it the right way. They went to the A division. They came close a couple of years but couldn't win anything. They finally won one. They committed to being a major team. And every year they're picking up. And some of the younger kids that were younger 2 or 3 years ago now got more experience. And they do a good job of bringing in guys who are a little bit younger, like Luke Lowry, who's playing the outfield for him. And
He plays center?
he plays at the center once in a while. He's usually more in right field.
Okay.
And, you see that when they're on the field, they hang out together between games, and they're doing just a really nice job of building that program up. And Hex is off to a great start, too. They were runners-up. They pretty much handled everybody all weekend except the Fat Kids.
Right.
And so they're off to a really good start. Richie Battistone's done a good job. They seem to lose players every year, but they keep chugging along.
Yeah.
And they got a kid now, Nick, who's playing right field.
Oh, yeah.
Who might be an animal. I don't know if I've seen anybody since Mark Holstein was a young pup that when he hits a ball through the infield,
You can hear him feel it.
he gets so much topspin, the ball is literally picking up speed after it hits the ground. And it shoots through the infield. And, and when he barrels up, man, tremendous power, great arm. And it's going to be fun. He still doesn't move as much in the box as he probably will be once he figures out the 16-inch game a little bit. But they did a great job of finding this kid. And, Hex, another team that they play the game the right way. They got, I think, one of the, and they just kind of do what they have to do. And that's a real solid team because of the way they play. And if you know Richie and you know Kevin Vaselski and some of the guys on that team, they're never going to be afraid of playing anybody.
No ducking with them.
And that's half the battle.
No ducking with them at all. What I like about Hex, they remind me of a beautiful car that just keeps chugging along, and they pick up players, but they pick the right pieces up. When you see a Hex pick up, you say, okay, he fits in with them. You don't see an apple going in an orange or a square going in a circle. They pick up the right pieces that fill in with their program and do a good job.
Yeah, they really do. And, like I said, they just keep chugging along. Third place finisher, the 45s. A lot of people have been kind of analyzing them a little bit, me included, wondering what's going to happen and if they're going to, solidify a little bit of their outfield situation. But they got a real good offensive lineup. They scored a lot of runs over the weekend at the TOC. And, that's another team. A lot of veteran guys been through it, and they know how to win ball games. And they looked pretty good over the weekend. Coming into the weekend, they weren't hitting much. So they kind of turned it on during the weekend. Sometimes, I guess, adrenaline, the juice of being in a major tournament, get some of the older guys locked in a little bit more. But again, they just continue to be successful.
You know who I like on the 45s? I like J. Rob. If they're winning or losing, they're up 20, down 20. He's still the same person. He's still J. Rob. He gets a timely hit every time he comes up, something productive, and he just goes right like this.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because Joey Yaris is back, and he's off to a terrific start. And we're going to show you some of Joe's numbers coming up when we get to the leaders. But they, like I said, that team, when they're locked in, they can score runs.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people might have short memories and not remember the fact that they were the runner-up at the SSA Major National Championship Tournament, and they took Chucks to an if game, and they just find ways to win ball games.
That's what good teams, great teams do, and great leadership with Israel and Nate. They do a good job leading that team, and they find ways to win. And what I like about this year's team is the fact that Nate's been very versatile. One game he's at shortstop, he go to short center, center field, left field, wherever they need him at, he just plugs in, and there's no dip in his play.
Yeah. I mean, I hope they can get a little bit more stable in the outfield, because I ran into Nate at Forest Park and I asked him how he was feeling, and he was like, "Man, I'm already beat up." So, he's such a terrific player, and when you're used to being a shortstop for the last decade plus,
The best shortstop the last decade plus.
and then you start having to go play out in the grass, and you're running on, some of the outfields. They got dips and little bumps, and it'll beat you up a little bit. So, but yeah, he's off to a great start. Anthony Sanchez off to a terrific start on that team as well. Anthony moving about as good as I've seen him move in the last couple of years. And, they got good pieces, and on any given weekend, you can never look past that team.
I wouldn't look past them at all. And I think once not making an excuse for any teams, but once that weather warms up consistently, you're going to see a lot better, a lot more production out of all the teams, especially offensively.
Yeah, I think what I'm waiting to see are some teams that traditionally are pretty good defensively that have had some early season struggles. The Pharaohs come to mind. They've had some games where they end up losing by a couple of runs, but it always seems like they've had one inning where they kind of throw it around or kick it a little bit, and we're not used to seeing that the last couple of years out of that group. And I'm pretty sure when the weather gets a little nicer and they get more consistent reps in, they're going to be back to playing that top flight defense. And so, and let's face it, we haven't really had that many warm days to play. I mean, the
Today's
TOC,
warm.
the weather Friday, Saturday, Sunday was fantastic.
Well, I made an agreement with Mother Nature. I called Mother Nature up and we made an agreement. But with the Pharaoh situation, I think they play well. They play a lot of heart, a lot of passion. And I watched the game they played recently against Flash, and I don't blame the umpire. I don't think the umpire loses a game or wins a game. But that call in the bottom of the sixth inning, I wish we had instant replay and take that call back, and it was pretty brutal.
Well, I'm not going to comment on the umping because it's a tough job. But,
yes, it is.
But if you really look at it dispassionately and you go back through the game, I think CC or or Cliff would tell you that, they gave, I mean, I think that was
Dropped
like
the
a
ball?
9, it was like a 9-8 or 8-9,
Yeah.
8-7 game, whatever it was. And they probably gave Flash 6 runs in that game because they couldn't pick up a ground ball. They had some trouble at first base in that game. And realistically, they played well enough offensively to win, but defensively,
They dropped a few balls at
they
first
dropped
base.
a few balls. And
Errant throws.
Right, and the one thing is, Flat, and we'll get to Flash. I'll put them up because they finished 4th. It doesn't seem to matter what lineup they have.
You're speaking of Flash now.
Flash.
Okay.
They will catch the ball. Another team with veterans. They brought in some new faces.
Yeah, one of my new guys.
I know. If you're going to put the Maluka,
One of my
Tommy
new
Linton
guys,
Jr.
Tommy
now.
Linton Jr.
Yeah.
is the Swift. First, I saw him at first base. Then I saw him at second base. Then I saw him at short center. Then guess what? I saw him between innings. He was selling popcorn to little kids.
Wow.
So he's on my list. Him and PJ Raines are 2 of my players.
Okay, and just so the folks know out there, I had to do a purification ceremony on PJ to break the Jerry Brown Maluk the other day. And what does he do? He goes out and he goes 5 for 7 in a doubleheader. So if you're looking to get rid of Jerry's Maluks, give Gio a call, and I'll take the curse off you.
Me and Mr. PJ had a nice long talk. I don't think it was that. It just was ready to play that day.
I don't know. I thought I heard him say, "Keep my name out of your mouth." Or maybe I am deaf in one ear, so maybe I didn't hear that right.
Moving right along.
Moving right along. So let's get to some of the stats now. We're 1 leg in the Chicago Summer Series. And again, it's real early. You needed 13 at-bats to qualify this early.
Okay.
And so as a result, these are the team. Again, I would say small sample size, but if you were on the 45s or some of these teams that scored a lot of runs, you got a lot of at-bats.
Yeah.
And so, maybe for some of these guys, it's a larger sample size. And what we saw last year doing these shows, we had guys that got out of the gate real quick the first weekend, and they didn't necessarily sustain it for the whole summer.
True.
So for me, it's always interesting to see guys that are on the list in various categories right out of the gate, whether they stay on the list.
Which list?
Well, the list for batting average
Oh,
or doubles
I thought you meant when
or
you started
triples.
writing those letters. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, we're not talking disciplinary list.
All right.
So let's put up the top 15 batting averages from the weekend. And, I love this Ryan Russ.
They moved him to second. He's batting second now.
Yeah, and he could very well be the best all-around left fielder in the game. And there are a lot of guys that are terrific left fielders. But Ryan came out of the gate 846 for the weekend and did his usual terrific job in left field defensively and just off to a terrific start on the year. And he's just getting better every year.
I agree.
Oh, short
I mean,
comment. from Jerry
there's
Brown.
nothing else to say. You said it all about him. I mean, I thought there'd be a little dip when Dan Dispenza had to take a little break in the action. So, but he plugged him in the 2-hole, and they've been chugging right along. What I do love about Flash, and you mentioned it earlier, you said they can plug anybody anywhere, and there's no dip in play.
Yeah, well, because, I'm no secret, I was there for a few years, and it's not because of me, obviously, but they always had the attitude that if a guy wasn't there, they didn't care. I think too many times teams focus on, this guy's our 4-hitter or 5-hitter, and like in Danny's case, depending on what's going on with Flash, he could either hit second, he's hit leadoff, he's hit in the 4-hole, 5-hole. If he's not there, they move on.
Yep.
They go to war with what they got, and their expectation is that they're going to win every day, regardless of who they put on the field, and that's why they put them on the roster in the first place.
They got a new 3-headed monster over there that everybody's raving about. Don't get, hold on. The center field is tremendous. I forgot his name.
Tommy Coates.
Coates.
Well,
Ooh, baby.
He's going to be a really good one.
No.
He might be one of the fastest guys in the game right now. He's got a
Yeah.
terrific arm in center field. And, they originally had him in the 3-hole. And I know I had talked to you a little bit. I kind of think it's hard to take a kid who's never played at the major level and put him in the 3-hole on a team like Flash or 45s or whatever. And they seemed like they dropped him down just a little bit to like maybe the 5 or 6 hole, to where, he didn't have to think as much, just go up and mash the ball. And he's mashing the ball now from what I've seen the last 3 or 4 games. And he looks really comfortable. And he's going to, you know what, if he ends up back in the 3-hole, it wouldn't surprise me at all, because he's a talented kid.
Yeah, he's tremendous. And what I like about him, I can't curse, sorry guys. He is so freaking fast.
Yeah, he is. In fact, Cece was doing
Yeah.
a game the other day, and I think Tommy might have hit a triple, and he looked over at me and you, and he said, he used more colorful language, but basically he was saying, damn, that kid is fast.
Yeah, he can fly.
Yeah,
he can fly.
He can, and I think that's what Gibbs did during the offseason. They picked up some younger guys, Tommy, his brother Pat. They picked up Tommy Lentine Jr.
One of my guys.
Right, so they got a little more athletic. They got a little more team speed.
Yeah.
And they got guys that are still extremely versatile. You already talked about Tommy Lentine Jr. And, Pat Coates, another guy, can play short center, short third. And, even when guys like Pish or Dispenza aren't there, they still put a pretty good lineup. They picked up Timmy Korenkowski, and we're going to get to Timmy because he's on this top 15 list. So, again, they have a plan, they have an idea, and their roster construction is pretty good. So now we get to the second place hitter, and that's that guy, Joe Yaris. Joe hit 727 for the 45s at the TOC. And, of course, Joe, when he was playing all the time, was widely considered one of the best. And didn't play that much the last couple of years, but he seems like he's back and he's committed. And he looks like he's enjoying himself, and he's swinging it real well now. And that was a real nice pickup for the 45s to get him back in the fold.
Yeah, a locked and loaded Joe Yaris is danger for the rest of the softball community. When he's engaged and he really wants to play, he's a top 10 player.
Oh, yeah. And, he looks good. He looks a little lighter than he's been the last couple of years. And, and we're going to get a couple more 45s on this list. But, again, we talked about the fact that they did score a lot of runs at the TOC.
Well, they opened up they beat somebody 35-1.
I think it was 31-1 or something.
Okay, yeah.
But we won't mention the team.
No, well, I lost the game 3 years ago, 30-something. What is that? Los Lobos beat me like I stole something.
Yeah.
So it was just a game. Just one game doesn't define you. A loss is a loss. And to quote Joe Yaris, we once talked, sometimes you're the hammer and sometimes you're the nail.
Sometimes you're the bug, sometimes you're the windshield.
Exactly.
Third on this list is a youngster who's been getting better every year, and that's Tyler Atkins. Daddy Atkins, who runs the North-South, that's his son. And Tyler came out, and Tyler had a great weekend. He hit 714, and he's playing a very good left field as well. Tyler, left-handed hitter, very fast, leading off for Iron. And, we could see it coming with Tyler, but he seems like he's at that point now where he's kind of figured it out a little bit, and he's moving the ball around. He had a baseball background. He's out of college now and doing very well. So kind of a newer name, and he's off to a great start on the season, so it'll be fun watching him continue to develop.
I'll start looking out for him now. He's on my radar, and I'll write down and just start watching him.
There you go. Third or fourth on the list, a guy that nobody really needs an introduction to either, Jeff Mastari from the 45s. And Jeff hit 667, and he put up some impressive numbers that we're going to see a little bit later when we start flipping through the leader categories. And Jeff primarily playing third base now, has settled in over there, had a conversation with Izzy, and sometimes when they have to use Nate in the outfield, Jeff had played some shortstop when he was on the hard way, but he's really settled into third base. So with the way Jeff has been swinging, I think all parties concerned just kind of want to leave him be and not be too disruptive with him. But Jeff having a good year, again, a taller infielder who runs well and just a lot of power. It seems like he's barreling up and driving the ball more this year than he has in the past.
Nothing to say about Jeff Mastari. I mean, come from a great lineage. His dad was a great shortstop. He's going to be a great player. And I had a side question about that. Do you think that if the 45s moved him to short center, just pick a position, you think they should keep him at one position, let him and grow from there? Or do you think they should push the limits and put him at short center and let him grow from there?
Well, I think it depends on the individual. Now Jeff is a very long kid, and he's got a lot of length to him. So if you put him at third, short, or short center, he's probably going to get to more balls than a lot of people will. But, you don't know how comfortable he'd be turning a double play.
Oh, yeah.
If he wants to, have people sliding into him. Some infielders don't have a taste for it. And I think that you want to put him where he's comfortable and try to maximize it. And if he's focused and comfortable at third and he's swinging the bat real good, sometimes you put a kid at a position,
mess him up.
He makes an error. Now he's thinking about that, and all of a sudden he's not hitting the ball. So, and Jeff, it's my understanding Israel did talk to Jeff, and they were all in agreement, and he kind of wanted to stay at third because that's where he thought he was helping the team the most. So, it doesn't mean sometime in the future Jeff may not, end up playing shortstop or somewhere else. And, of course, his dad, Frank, one of the greats of all time at shortstop. So, he's got good genes, and he's really coming into his own a little bit this year.
Yes, he is.
Next on the list, Spencer Mahoney. He hit 636 during the TOC, and he's another guy. He put up some numbers that we're going to be seeing, and I'll give you a tease, even though we're going to do the 25 Chicago Summer Series reveal when we work through this TOC portion. Spencer did end up being the most valuable player in 2025. So he just continues to mash the ball. And, I know you made a comment the other day, or it might have been somebody else, that when he's not at a signature game, they look a little different. And, I would tend to agree with that. I think Spencer is, I would say, one of the leaders of that team, and he brings so much to the table that, regardless of the team he'd be on, they're never going to be as good as when this kid's on the field, because he's just a tremendous player.
Yeah, he's grown, and he's gotten better, if that's believable, better and better each year. And the funny thing about it, I think that the one Achilles heel for signature has been the fat kids. And that's dated back from a couple years ago to now. The fat kids have pretty much, not to get off topic, but the fat kids have pretty much had their way with signature.
Yeah, everybody's got a boogeyman, and the fat kids, they've played signature extremely well. the last couple of years.
Yes.
And, you know, but the fat kids could end up being a lot of teams' boogeyman. Because,
the new sheriff's in town.
yeah, because they're really on the upswing. And, you know, I'm sure Hex doesn't like playing the fat kids much either. But, you know, but the fat kids, you know, the way they play defense and they don't make mistakes,
They'll
get in your head a little bit. So let's get back to the list now. 6, Mike Greco from Hex. And Mike had a very good weekend. He hit .636. He's leading off for Hex, playing a terrific first base. And, you know, he is certainly one of the up-and-comers, not only hitting the ball, but playing a very important position at first base. Never really see him say a whole lot, but he's a gamer, man. He goes out there, catches the ball, hits it, and just a really nice player to watch play the game.
Most of the great players don't really talk a lot. If they talk, they're primarily talking to their team, but they don't really yap back and forth. So it doesn't surprise me that Mike Greco doesn't talk a lot. They just don't talk a lot. Their actions and their play on the field speaks volumes.
I would tend to agree with you on that.
What's wrong with you? Agree with me? You got to do a well-being check on you? Why are you agreeing with me so much today?
What do you mean?
You never really agree with me. You think I
Well,
have crazy ideas.
Well, because today you seem to be talking sense. So,
A broken clock is right twice a day.
that's right. Even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while.
There you go.
7 on the list, no stranger to anybody. We talked about him earlier. Nate Mercado from the 45s. Nate, 625 during the weekend, and he, I believe, did play some outfield and some infield at the TOC. So Nate had a busy weekend, but offensively, it certainly didn't slow him down, not at all.
Well, we talked about Nate already, and enough adjectives described his greatness, and it's over like a 10-year, about 10 years he's been with the 45s?
But he was with the Roadrunners for, what, 4 or 5 years before that?
He has been the symbol of excellence since he stepped on a softball field, and that's the highest honor I could probably pay him. And he deserves every accolade, every award, and everything that comes with his play.
Yeah, and he's just the model of consistency, too. You know, that's the thing a lot of guys don't understand. They might have a good couple of weeks, a good month. Maybe they have a good season, but then they come back the next year and they can't duplicate it or replicate it. And when you look at guys like Nate, you know, you can go back to, you know, back when guys like Randy Russ were playing or Keith Filkins. I mean, these guys did it every year and almost every game.
Yeah.
And that's when you know a kid is a great player, if he's going to show up on a Tuesday and still play with that energy and still go out and do the things he has to do. You know, a lot of guys, you know, they show up and, you know, they take a game off or they, you know, they're not into it. But the really good players, they'll show up every day and they'll do what they have to do to help the team win.
It's like an obsession. It's like an obsession to destroy you, to beat you, to take your will away, and to dominate. And there's very few that have that, and he's one of them. He's the top of the list.
So back to the list, we got our first Iowa player checking in. Jared Carlson from Chucks hit .611. And Jared's been with Chucks for a long time. He was a long time starting center fielder for Chucks. And what they've done starting last year when Levi Usher came onto the scene, they've moved Jared to right field. And Jared, another kid, does what the team requires. He's a good hitter. And Chucks has really one of the better outfields in 16-inch softball with Brady Fisher in left, Levi in center, and now Jared. They got another kid, Cole Gruel, who used to play a lot of outfield for Chucks, and he's kind of like the fourth guy, rotational piece. But Cole would be starting in left field for a lot of teams in 16 in softball if he wasn't with Chucks. And, Jared, a real pleasant kid. I've gotten a chance through the years to talk to him a little bit, and off to a great start this year. So, and Chucks is going to be a load. I know they didn't. They started out the TOC real strong, and then they didn't have enough to get to the Final Four. I want to say they might have finished tied for fifth. Chucks is going to be a handful. They'll be in for the North-South, and we'll also get our first look at Hall of Fame concessions at the North-South as well. But, Jared, just a super kid, and terrific weekend.
I know nothing about Jared and for him to make the list. Congratulations, and moving along.
So next on the list, Tim Korenkowski, that's Brian's brother, hit 600 for flashback. And Timmy was not on a team, and Flash did not use all their 20, so he was kind of a late pickup. He was on the roster prior to the TOC, but they didn't landlock their roster, and so they picked up a kid who we know from OBI and FETA and Circus is just a really good, solid player, can play short center, short third, and Timmy's always been a tough out, and you can tell he's kind of a veteran guy when you see him go to a team like Flash, and he's not fazed at all about being on a good team or surrounded by other good players. He just went out and hit the ball and did what he was supposed to do. And, of course, anybody that knows Timmy also knows he's probably one of the bigger characters in the game. And, so good pickup by Flash and out of the gate quick.
Yeah, like I said, but you just said it all right there. He's been very consistent, and he's going to help Flash out a lot, and he's done a lot of winning. So
he sure has. That gets us to our second Iowa player on the list, Matt Mackey, big first baseman for Chucks, left-handed hitter. And Matt they call him the Big Cat. And Matt
Who calls him that?
The guys on Chucks call him the
I've never
Big
seen
Cat.
anybody from Illinois call him the Big Cat.
Well, you're not watching the broadcast.
I
call him the Big Cat all the time.
Yeah,
Live!
oh, God.
But Matt, another guy, very difficult hitter because he's got tremendous power to all fields, and he's also capable of just throwing a line drive in front of you. And Matt came out and had a real solid weekend. He hit 600 as well for Chucks. And, they got some thump in that lineup
That third
with
baseman.
Chucks. Kyle Simpson. And,
That third baseman is something special.
Jake Reynolds. You got Matt Mackey, Levi Usher. I mean, they got guys that can pound the softball. And that's why I think they're going to be a handful moving forward this year.
You know who plays them really well?
The Pharaohs.
Pharaohs. They play them really well.
They
So
do.
they don't put up a lot of runs on the Pharaohs. So just a little tidbit that if the draw just happens to fall that way, that would be a good opening day. Opening game that you can do.
Well, I mean,
If it falls that way.
Well, both those teams will be at the North-South. Now, I don't know if Danny considers the Iowa teams as North or South. Because, in the first round, Danny always has the teams he designates as North Side play a team he designates as South Side playing each other. And I would assume the Pharaohs would be a South Side team. And so it would be interesting if it worked out that way. 11 on the list, Anthony Stacy from the Fat Kids. And Anthony hit 588. He was the leading hitter on the Fat Kids for the weekend. and he played, I believe, a little third base. I'm not sure if he pitched over the weekend, but he's been pitching for him if Angelo is not around or they want to get Angie off his feet a little bit. And of course, he was with Flashback the last couple of years, went over to the Fat Kids. He's got a lot of friends there. And right now, Anthony looks very relaxed and he's enjoying himself. And he is back to being Anthony Stacy, who when I first saw him, I used to always say on the live stream, man, all this kid does is hit. And he seems like he's got his stroke back. He's moving the ball around the field. I looked at his spray chart the other day, another tough guy to defend, and he's doing something which I like to see. He's driving the ball more.
Yeah.
He always could hit a gap, but I think the last couple of years he maybe fell in love with the cut a little too much, and he's back to
driving the ball,
driving
swinging
the
away.
ball, hitting line drives. He's still cutting and pushing, excuse me, but that's not the main emphasis of his game anymore. So he's a little more well-rounded, kind of like when I first saw him.
I think his defense is at first base. I saw a couple of games. Has been stable, been very good. So
Yeah.
I don't like hitters cutting the ball a lot. That's like a special art. And I think that when you're in a tournament or you're playing and you're 6'3" and you're 250, I really don't want to see you cutting the ball because you're doing the game an injustice. You're doing your team an injustice rather. So that's just my public service announcement.
And just to clean the record up, Anthony, he's not saying you're 6'3" or 250.
Not at all.
Okay,
I'm general
so
statement.
I don't want anybody thinking you're out there throwing that out there.
Not at all.
So let's get back to the list. After Anthony, we got, again, a guy we talked about, Angelo Feliciano, hitting .583. And so Angie not only was keeping some of the best teams in softball under control on the mound, but he was also contributing and got a lot of big hits during the weekend. And, like I said, he's right now, and he's another guy. He lost, I think, a couple of pounds over the off season, and he's moving pretty good. And he's another guy. He's a tough out because he's not a greedy hitter. He can push it a little bit. He can throw it over your infield, and just off to a really good two-way start.
Yeah, just keep it rolling, and he's doing great. And he's always been there. Now he's on top of the mountain.
Yeah, he's really turned into a good player. And then
What?
in the 13th spot, actually tied, we got a few guys at .583, but the legend himself, he's got to be, like you said in our pre-show meeting, he's got to be 90 years old. But Angelo,
I didn't say that.
Yes, you did.
Who? Do you got record of me saying that?
Yeah.
I called him the Mini Minoso of modern day softball. He's played in 5 decades. That's what I said.
Maybe 6.
And he's hitting it all 6 decades.
But Angelo, playing with the hard way, also hit .583. And for a lot of you older softball fans who remember Angelo when he was a youngster, he's still doing it, man. He's still getting his hits and driving opposing teams crazy.
Yeah. It wasn't he last year. He was the MVP of, what was that, 50 and over?
I don't know.
I think he was co-MVP with Lawler, the 50 and over. You know why I know that? Because the trophy was named after me and my greatness for media and broadcast and what I bring to the game.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Well, I'll just tell you the truth.
Okay. So congratulations, Angie's still doing it at an age when most people are sipping cocktails on the couch. So then we get to 14, which is Anthony Scarlata, again, another guy well-known in softball on signature. He hit .583, which is no surprise. Scar's got a batting title from SSA Major National Championship up in Wheeling one year. When I want to say they might have been, I don't think they were still Windy City. I think they were signature at the time.
Is this pre-game changer or this is all?
No, we were doing Game Changer back then. Scar, that's the year they beat the Psychopaths for the national championship. And Scar's still, playing more third base this year. Still doing terrific defensively. Of course, a great first baseman.
He really
want
is.
to put him there. And, so not a big surprise that Anthony Scarlata would find his way on this early list at all. And then number 15 from the Dirty 38s, Julian Russell, 579. And, nobody ever leaves the Dirty 38s. It's like a cult over there. Julian has taken more of a leadership role. He's running the team now as well as playing.
Elite shortstop, too.
He's a terrific shortstop, but another kid can play short center, can play anywhere on the infield, a lead hitter, just a real nice guy, very pleasant to talk to, always upbeat. And he promised me he was going to try to get them to come to the major tournament Labor Day weekend. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Them in Whale, I want to see them in Carroll Stream this year. But 38's got a nice team, and they've done some good things to get better. And
They picked up one of my favorite players, a short center. AC, and his name
Alex
was
Cotto.
You damn right.
Or is it Cotto? Cotto?
Cotto, I just told you you're right.
Okay.
I agree with you.
So that's rare.
No, he's tremendous, and I look forward to them guys coming to play in the major national. Where is it going to be at this year?
Carroll Stream.
Carroll Stream.
Caslin Park. And they also picked up Chuck Regaldo.
Yeah,
And
I
they
forgot about
still
him.
got Mark Norris on that team. And so they got some really talented players. They got Eric Mandarino now pitching for them, and Eric is a very good, solid player. So they got a sneaky good squad there, and that's going to be interesting to see how they do during the course of the summer at these summer series events. So good job by Julian Russell.
Off to a great start.
Now we'll get to our first leader category, which is total hits. And this is kind of what I'm talking about. Jeff Mastari had 16 hits, and so did Joe Yaris. And, at the beginning of the show, I talked about the fact that the Fat Kid's leading plate appearance guy only had 17 plate appearances. Mm-hmm. And these two guys had 16 hits apiece. Jeff and Joe Yaris, and right behind them, you got two guys with 15 hits in Matt Mackey and Nate Mercado, and then there's Scar with 14 hits. So, these guys talk about a lot of at-bats and a lot of hits, and when you consider the fact that all of these guys are in the top 10 hitting, and when you're hitting 580 and you got 18 hits, I'm not a math major, but you can just see how many at-bats they had. If you're hitting over 500 and you got 16 hits, you had more than 32 at-bats.
Right.
So, pretty impressive amount of hits for these guys on the top five. And I don't think last year, I'd have to go back and check, but I don't think last year anybody ended up with this many hits this fast as like all of these guys did. This is just a crazy amount of at-bats and hits for these guys on the top five. So now we're going to move over to the double list, and here's Jeff Mastari again with 5 doubles. There's Scarlata with 4, Lavelle Harris from the Pharaohs with 4. There's Mahoney checking in on another category with 4. And then you got Mark Ross, who I know you absolutely love as a player.
Yeah.
And he's got 4. So, these guys, and I'm a big believer that in 16-inch softball, a lot of people talk about batting average, but I think you always want to look at what percentage of the hits are extra bases.
Extra
Don't
base.
have to be home runs or necessarily even triples, but
doubles,
the guys that get you the doubles, they throw in a few triples, maybe a home run, that's really what makes your offense spin at a high level, because if you're going station to station or you need 3 hits to score a run, you're not going to score that many runs. But if you got guys that are hitting doubles and cleaning the bases or triples,
You got problems.
right, you get a couple of decent speed guys on, and a guy cracks a double, he's in. So to me, that's really what I look at in terms of productivity. And, so we're going to keep an eye on that. And so we'll show you that list one more time. And then we'll click over to the triple list. And at the top of the list with 6 is Levi Usher.
Okay.
So-
Chuck's Levi.
From Chuck. So, and of course, Levi, another taller kid who runs like a deer, and 300-foot fences at Westchester. Had there been no fences, Levi might have had 4 or 5 home runs. But so Levi Usher, and then of course Travis Smith from High Y with 3. Matt Mackey, who's actually a bigger guy. I don't think you'd confuse his speed with Levi's, but Matt, he found a way to get 3, and I think maybe 1 or 2 of these may have bounced over the fence because of how much Matt drives the ball. Keenan Connolly from Signature with 3, and then there's Jeff Mastari figuring I might as well get on the triple list too.
Why
he
not?
had a pair. So, when you see these kind of numbers, one thing you know for sure is these guys were driving the ball. And, for the most part, they all run pretty good. And, very, very productive hitting the triples. So we'll slide over to the home runs. And here's Spencer Mahoney at 4.
Did he hit one over? You during the game against Fat Kids, did he hit one over? That was on field B.
Yeah, I don't know if he did or not. I know when I looked at his spray chart, the way it is on Game Changer, they have kind of like the outfield fence.
Okay.
And the scorekeeper had put a couple like beyond the outfield fence. So I don't know if that meant it went over or not. I'd have to talk to the scorekeepers about that and see if that's something that they're doing or not doing. But I know he hit some bombs in the tournament.
Yeah.
But again, Westchester, 300-foot fences, it's tough. And then a guy that you would never confuse with Spencer, even though they're both left-handed hitters, Brian Kearns had 2. So Brian's hitting home runs in a little different way than maybe Spencer is.
Gap and speed.
Gap and speed, right. And so he had a pair of home runs. And then Kyle Simpson, who hit 2 home runs in Chuck's first game, which was a terrific game against High Y. He hit 2 bombs that were over the fence in a game that we live streamed. So Kyle Simpson with 2. Nick Casanos from Hex hit 2 home runs. And again, Nick is one of those guys who's more of a line drive gap kind of hitter. So, and then at the end, the Game Changer, I got to go in and correct that because it looks like in Game Changer, his name might be misspelled, but I believe that's Shavante Samuels from the Pharaohs who had 2 home runs.
Yep.
And, Shavante, another guy, very fast.
Versatile.
Hits a ball into a gap, it's going to be a problem.
Right.
So those were your home run leaders. So overall, and that's the RBI category. And here's Jeff Mastari with 18 RBIs. He had more RBIs than the
some people-
leading plate appearance guy on the Fat Kids. How about that? From the 45s, Anthony Scarlatta with 15. Jake Reynolds from Chuck's with 14. Levi Usher with 13 from Chuck's, and then Matt Mackey with 13. So you look at the top 5, 3 of them from Chuck's, and combined they had, 40 RBIs between the 3 guys.
It's a lot. It's a lot of hitting.
It's a lot of,
Driving runs in.
Well, and you know what it also speaks to is it speaks to the other guys in the lineup who are getting on base to be driven in. And when you look at their lineup between Levi, Jake, and Mackey and Matt, they're all probably almost hitting back to back to back.
Yeah.
So it makes you wonder.
It's setting the table pretty nice.
Right. So whoever if this is 2, 3, 4, whoever the 4 guy is, he's probably knocking in 2 or 3. And, 2 and 3 are probably knocking in guys that are 1, 2, or the bottom of the lineup.
Excuse me.
So that'll tell you a lot about the fact that when there's that many RBIs for guys that are hitting that close, that there are a lot of people up and down their lineup getting on base.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty impressive statistic. So before we do the 2025 reveal, let's pay some more bills, and we'll mention Sweet Buzz again by Dresco Farms Infused Products. If you use them, check them out, and please use them responsibly. Of course, Cut Shot Bats, the official 16-inch softball bat of the Slow Pitch Softball Association. Check them out at cutshotsports.com. So now we're going to talk about the 2025 All-Chicago Summer Series. And I know a lot of people probably been waiting for the reveal on this. And, we got some different names that showed up versus 2024. We also got some guys that repeated, and it was a pretty interesting list. So, show you the graphic, and let's slide over. So we'll start with the second team All Summer Series. And from Moneyline, Lane Neiman Jr., and Lane, a younger kid, tall kid. He's had a couple of years where he's gotten dinged up, but was healthy last year, played a lot, and had a very, very solid year for Moneyline. And of course, his father, Lane Sr., I had the pleasure of having him on a couple of my coaching staffs, and Lane in the Hall of Fame, his dad as a Hall of Fame manager. Next on the list, Danny Dispenza from Flashback, and Danny, I believe, made second team in 2024 as well. And Danny had a very good year, but again, we're used to seeing that out of him. Next on the list, Anthony Sanchez from the 45s, and I believe this was Anthony's first time of making a All-Summer Series team, and Anthony had a real good year as well, as did most of these guys. And then we have Rob Grisano from Moneyline. And a little trivia for you, the year before in 2024, Rob made the second team All-Summer Series, but he was on Hex. So he's the only player so far early in SSA Summer Series history after 2 years to make an All-Summer Series team, having played for 2 different squads.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah, it really is. And he's transitioned now. He's pitching more. So Robbie, another kid who was always very talented and starting to mature a little bit and playing good softball. Then we have your guy, Tommy Lentine Jr. He was with March last year, and he made the second team all-tournament, or all-summer series team, I should say. Next on the list, Richie Battistoni from Hex. And, of course, Richie runs the team. And, when you actually run a team and you play,
that's tough.
It's very difficult, right, because you got so many things that are pulling on you. And so Richie, of course, has been a tough out for a long time. Next on the list was Joey Agardo from Flashback. And Joey had a good year, and I believe he made one of the All-Summer Series teams. It might have been first team from 24, so he's a repeat player. And his teammate, Ryan Russ, also made second team. And this was Ryan's first appearance, I believe, on either year. And then Nick Drabel from Moneyline, short center. Nicky had a very solid year for Moneyline last year, along with being one of our corporate partners through Sweet Buzz. And then we have Jeff Mastari, and I believe Jeff made an All-Summer Series team in 25. It might have been a first-team selection in 24, excuse me. Then right below that, we have Jordan Dean, who was playing with March last year, and I believe Jordan's going to be playing with Impact this year. Jordan runs HQ Athletics, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. After that, and when I called him to tell him, Mark Holstein from Hex, he was smiling. He's like, not bad for a guy my age. And Mark was like, and here's a guy that's won MVPs and everything else.
No gloves, yep.
But he was still like, just kind of happy that at his age, he was still being productive and could be recognized for it. So congratulations. Another guy that has made it, I believe, both years, Mike Manzella, played with Flashback.
One of my favorites.
And, of course, Mike now, I believe, is with Iron.
Yes, he is.
And
he's taking his shorts to Iron.
No comment.
It's my guy.
And then after that, a guy who was a Swiss Army knife last year for the 45s, pitched two terrific games in the men's major national championship tournament against Chuck when he got pressed into action, Mike Marola from the 45s. And then we got a former Solutions player, Anthony Brewer, who was with BTA.
Congratulations.
So could you win some games with that team, Jerry?
I couldn't even screw this team up. I was close my eyes and roll the balls out.
Jerry, I don't think you give yourself enough credit.
Well, my main passion now is media and the SSA and being the media presence. That's my main passion now.
Sorry, folks. Apparently, I created a Frankenstein.
Yes, you did. Without the bolts in the neck.
Yeah. Nice. Or the scars.
Or the scars.
So now we're going to get to the first team. These are the guys that overall just were unbelievable, and they certainly earned it. At the top of the list, Johnny McIlvain. He was with March last year, and Johnny also won the batting title.
Yeah.
He had 627. Of course, we're going to put that list up in a little bit.
Stone cold hitter.
He's another kid. When he first came out, I used to call him the poor man Spencer Mahoney. But because they were tall and thin, and but Johnny has really come into his own now.
Yeah.
And he's really swinging the bat well, and couldn't be happier for him. He's part Greek, so I like that about him too. But congratulations, Spencer Mahoney.
I got a quick question to chime in. It's the second team. You got three people from March. And it's just like, wow, you don't realize it because once you take a step back and look at the stats, and thank God that I thought about Game Changer, and thank God I brought this to the forefront, and this shows you and gives everybody their just due and their credit. And March had 3 or 4 guys we already talked about, and we'll move right along. I just want to give myself a pat on the back. Thank you, Jerry, for Game Changer.
And now I'm legally required to give a disclaimer saying that anything Jerry Brown says is strictly and solely his own opinions in his own different reality universe. But anyways, let's move on. Just having some fun. So Spencer Mahoney from Signature, I did kind of sneak the reveal a little bit. Spencer ended up being the MVP last year, and his numbers across the chart. and the fact that he plays such an important position made him an obvious choice to where I couldn't even screw that up. Then we get to a guy 2 years in a row, first team, All Chicago Summer Series, a guy that probably nobody really ever thinks about.
No.
And that's Charles Cha-Cha Golden from High Y.
They should be thinking about him. I mean, he's the straw that stirs the drink with that ball club. And like you said before, and you're 100% right, scary as it sounds, when he gets those doubles and he gets those triples and he makes them make you throw the ball around and make you think second, that is a weapon within itself. And it makes the game so much easier for, I think, Banks bats behind him and Kevin Johnson comes up third. It makes their job so much easier, starting out with no outs and running a second or third base.
Yeah, and of course, Cha-Cha, one of the fastest guys in the game. And, you know, if you're any of those guys sitting behind him, they know they don't have to crush a ball.
No.
If they just hit a long stretch single, he's a threat to score. And if the outfield has any kind of a bobble, you know, I know one thing, Cha-Cha is not afraid to keep on running.
No, he's not. 824.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, there's another guy, when I called to tell him, he was just ecstatic and always got a smile on his face. Next on the list is Lenny Gonzalo. He was on money line, and Lenny, tremendous offensive player. The kid rakes. One of the nicest guys you're ever going to meet in softball. And, you know, when I first saw him on Players Inc., the one year we were in the Dome, and I was telling people I thought he was going to be a breakout player, and sure enough, he's kind of evolved into what it looked like he was going to be. Nobody really ever paid attention to Players Inc., even though they had some good players. Guys like Vince AC came from there, and you know, Lenny started out. Pete DeGioia, you know, brought some good players into the game.
Did they win the A? They won the SSA Nationals in Wheeling, if I remember correctly.
Well, we never ran an A in Wheeling, but they did win a tournament, I believe.
It was the turf.
And it was in Carroll Stream. And, you know, and that was unusual because Players Inc. and Pete, they tended to always want to play major, which I always admired from Pete, was that he was never afraid.
No.
And his teams were never afraid.
No.
And they had some good players. And, you know, Lenny was on that team. And I remember watching him the one year, and I'm like, man, this kid is good. And sure enough, he's just a smooth hitter, man. Next on the list, Jason Ganick from Moneyline. And, of course, Jason was a Falcon Express guy, which was the outfit that Nick Drabel and his brother Ryan had started, and a lot of them folded into this Moneyline. And Jason is a kid that very quiet, doesn't say a lot, but is a very, very productive offensive player and a very solid shortstop. And, you know, unfortunately, I think he just had like his third kid, and he's got a crazy work schedule. So I don't know if we're going to see him out much this year. But when this kid shows up, you got a game plan, because this kid can hit, and big hits. Next on the list, the guy that I broke the curse of Jerry Brown on this week, PJ Raines from Flashback. And PJ had a wonderful year last year. I think he took the next step last year. It was
monster year.
First year he came over from the 45s to Flashback, and he just looks like he's been there for 10 years, and just enjoying himself, playing free and easy. And he was a beast last year. There's no other way to put it.
Nope, I can't say anything but give him the highest praise. I saw him play short center. I've seen him play second base. I've seen him play center field. I've seen him play right field, and he excels at all, and he can do no wrong. If he told me today was Thursday, somewhere in the world I would find out today's Thursday. He's one of my guys, and leave him alone.
God, stop putting the Malouk on him. I worked awful hard to break the curse, and now you're trying to put it back on him. Don't worry, PJ. I'll purify you next time I see you. Next on the list is Brian Davis from Moneyline. Now, Brian Davis was the MVP of the first ever SSA Class A
For what team?
Glove National Championship for Vision.
I thought I had you. I thought you were going to say No Fear.
No.
Okay. all right.
And the funny thing about Brian is you're talking about a guy with tremendous mileage. Back in the day, he was a center fielder. He's an infielder now.
Damn good third baseman.
Right. He's gone through some lower leg type issues. He's had to get his knee drained a few times during in season sometimes to keep playing. And he had a terrific year, like he dialed the clock back. And I like Brian. He's an old school guy. His brother Eric, of course, also a left fielder for Moneyline, and Eric's got an MVP at a major in Wheeling. And, both of them and their dad, Red Davis, hard-nosed throwbacks. And so it was nice to see Brian kind of come through and have a terrific year like that. Next on the list, Brian Kearns from Flashback. And we talked a little bit about Brian. Another kid in his 40s, you'd never know it looking at him because of the way he runs, but he puts a lot of pressure on you. He's got that weird swing where he just taps the top of the ball. And then if you get 2 strikes on him, he whistles a line drive into the outfield. So very versatile hitter and still can play a decent outfield.
Speed when I see him.
Yeah.
Speed.
Next on the list was Santos Soto, who this year they got him playing third base for the fat kids because they brought in Pops Alejandro. But last year, Santos was the shortstop. And, he had a big breakout year. I think a lot of people that maybe don't watch the fat kids may not have realized what a talented kid he is. Left-handed hitter and got a little pop, can move the ball around, and just a real pleasant kid. So very happy to see again, especially when we get these guys, Jerry, that aren't the big name players.
Yeah, I like that.
I like that a lot because that tells me that the game's in good hands when we can start seeing younger players bust through. Mm-hmm. After that, another guy doesn't really need a lot of introduction, Wes Shannon from BTA. Wes is one of the guys that made first team in both 24 and 25.
23 and 22.
Right, and he might have won the batting title in 24, except BTA didn't finish the year very well, and he was at bat short of qualifying.
One.
I think it was 2. But
But we could have did a Chicago election, but not you. Everything's by the rules. Everything's by the book.
Well, we're fair here at the SSA, if not anything else. So Wes, another guy, when he's plugged in and wants to play, there's really nobody much better than Wes Shannon.
One of the best in the business.
I haven't really seen Wes too much this year.
Well, he's ducking. He ain't been looking for you. He's right there. He's right there in his midst. I'm sure he's got a tournament coming up, and I'm sure he'll be in attendance, and he'll do what he normally does.
Well,
that's it.
I'm kind of looking. I keep waiting for BTA to kind of put all the pieces together, and they got a talented roster.
Well, didn't they win the opening summer series or in Melrose one year?
They did.
That was last year or 2 years ago?
They won a national championship.
So they've been there.
But since they won the national championship, they've been a little inconsistent at times. And part of the problem is they're just not scoring enough runs. And they're not cycling through their lineup enough so that guys like Wes can do even more damage.
It's called championship hangover. When you win an SSA major and it's a legitimate championship, it takes a little while to get your mojo back.
Well,
You haven't had a repeat in a while. Think about that. Okay, here we go. Challenging me on live studio.
Well, Signature, they
When's the last
had a
time they
couple
repeat?
of back-to-backs.
What decade?
Well, we've only been around for this our 16th season of play.
Okay.
So, but we have started seeing, when we first started.
Parody.
When we first started, it was Flashback, Signature, and the 45s.
Right.
But then a team called High Y broke that streak.
Yeah, then?
And then BTA
Then?
decided to continue it. And then Rismondo.
Then next,
And then
Iowa.
Chalks. So the last 4 years have been basically first-time SSA national champions.
So, wow. So you mean Obels has a chance?
Everybody's got a chance, man.
If you believe.
If you believe, man.
Right.
I mean, we're not machines, and that's why we play 7 innings. And depending on whether or not the wind's blowing in or out, that affects games. I mean, that's why it's the greatest theater on the planet when these big teams go at it, because, sometimes a team looks unbeatable, and then they don't even make the Final Four.
Wow.
And that's the great thing about softball. And then after Wes on this list is Billy Quirk, also a 2-time first-teamer.
Yep.
Out of Iron. And I love Billy's game. He's just as steady as it gets at second base, and the kid can flat out hit. And he's just a fun guy to play. And I got to keep him off of the media stuff, Jerry, because he's got better pipes than both of us.
Yeah, well, stay away, Billy. Let us have this, man. You're dominating second base. Give us this.
Yeah, and he's better looking than both of us.
This is true.
So at the end of the day, Billy, just stick to softball. I'm in agreement with my good friend Jerry. And then also on the list, Nate Mercado. No surprise. I believe Nate is also a 2-time first-teamer.
Yep.
And, Nate doing Nate things last year like he did the year before and like he's doing this year. So, and that's when I talk about the consistency of being able to replicate that every year. And, Nate is, one of those guys playing today that you can point to for that. And then after that, first-time appearance, on an all-summer series team, Kevin Johnson, KJ from High Y.
Yep.
And, KJ's always been terrific defensively, but he has really turned himself into one of the elite hitters and probably one of the toughest outs in the game now.
Very tough out.
Because, he's got that weird overhand cut. He can drive it a little bit. He moves the ball around. And he's fearless. He's just not afraid of the moment.
No, he accepts the moment. What I like about him is the fact that he's so light on his feet, and he's like a ballerina over there at first base. I mean, he's got great footwork. I mean, he's a leader, and he's everything you would want to build your team around. And I think if there's a conversation about the best first baseman in softball, he has to be in the team photo.
I would agree with that. And former offensive lineman in college.
No, I was told he was a running back. Your intel's not on point.
Now, I think somebody's lying to you.
Okay,
But
well,
that might
totally.
explain the quick feet.
All right, well,
And then right after that is a
Another
guy
first
that I
baseman.
keep singing the praises of, Mike Greco from Hex, making his first appearance on an all-summer series team.
congratulations.
And like I said, Mike coming along. And I know a couple of years ago when John Doss was running Circus, he had told me during the winter that he was going to go after Mike because he thought Mike was one of the best upcoming, not only defensive first basemen, but JD thought that he was going to turn into a good offensive player. And I had mentioned that to Richie Battistoni, and he said, "Oh yeah, I know. Mike told me right away after JD called him." So
You're keeping up stuff.
So all you managers out there, when you reach out to these guys, they're always going to go and tell their managers that you called them. So,
That's taken as a compliment that somebody wants you and values you to be a part of their ball club.
and the other thing is, managers never text a player.
No.
Talk to him on the phone.
Never
'cause
put it in
that-
writing.
That text will end up getting circulated throughout the softball community. I learned that the hard way many, many, many years ago when some of you were still in grammar school. And then the last first team selection, Shane Lawler from Flashback. And, you know, a lot of people with how star-studded that Flashback is might overlook Shane. But Shane's another guy. He makes all the games. He's a little bit older. You know, when you look at him, you might not be overly impressed. A lot of people didn't see Shane when he was playing the outfield in his younger days. But Shane could always swing the bat. He's a solid first baseman. And he's another guy, Jerry. If you give him, you move your short center to one side of the field and you shade your outfield, he's going to dump it into the other side of the field to the biggest hole. You know, now he's starting to use the right field line a little bit more than he used to. And he's just a tough kid, not afraid of big moments, and also owns a couple of bars, Lawlers. They support the SSA, one on Archer, one on 111th. And if you haven't been to Lawlers on 111th Street, you should go in there. Great food, beautiful setup, the way Shane remodeled that place. So he's not only working his tail off the field, but also on the field. And Shane just a super nice guy, one of the best you'll ever meet in 16-inch softball.
I would agree with that. Everybody that I've been a pleasure and a privilege to meet have been very nice. I haven't met, I can say maybe out of the hundreds of softball players, maybe less than 1% that I can go for. So everybody's pretty nice, informative, helpful, and they all want to win, but off the field, they're a different person.
Well, I think, you know, we all share a common
Brotherhood.
love of playing softball.
Yeah.
And there's so much going on in the world that when we're all at a softball field, you know, it's such a great break from whatever it is you got going on in your life that most of the guys are just happy to be out there.
Yep.
You know, 90% of the guys in softball are on teams where they like the guys they're playing with. You know, you always got a few guys that, you know, think the grass is greener somewhere, and then they eventually find out that that's not always true. But, yeah, the softball community in general, I'm usually pretty proud of how everybody gets along.
Yeah, beautiful. And, you know, one thing I would like to give you your flowers with, and for the elderly and the sick and the shut-in, the ones who can't make games with gas prices being $48 a gallon, that you provide that live commentary, those live broadcasts, that makes everybody can still connect with softball. So for me, I'm thanking you from them.
Wow. Thanks, Jerry.
And that's very nice of you to do that, and you do it without a stipend or pay. I mean, if I had a couple dollars, I would give you a bologna sandwich. But I don't, but we appreciate you, and thanks for everything you're doing. Keep broadcasting, and we look forward to it, and it helps everybody out, and it keeps everybody connected with it.
Well, thank you, Jerry. I appreciate that. So let's move now. These are the award winners and honorees. Of course, the most valuable player, we let that cat out of the bag, Spencer Mahoney from Signature.
Another cat you let out.
Batting champ, Johnny McIlvain, 627.
You let that out the bag.
Now, this one was a little bit of a surprise. Curtis Ostrom was the home run leader with 7.
Steroids.
And, well, you know, but it was funny because I think last year at the TOC, Curtis hit something crazy, like 4 or 5 home runs in one tournament. And he ended up only with 7, but it was good enough to get him kind of the home run champion title for 2025. And, you know, when you look at the size of some of these guys, and then
Oh, those guys want to tap the ball
right.
over the
and
field.
then you look
cut.
at Curtis, who physically isn't that intimidating. He's not very tall. He's strong.
Yeah.
But it's like, you're like, this guy led 16-inch softball in homers. Yes, he did. And so congratulations to Curtis, or as I call him, the straw that stirs the drink for Hex. And Curtis had a good year last year. The RBI champion, your guy, Danny Dispenza with 32. I got a feeling the RBI champ this year might be a little bit higher than 32.
We might be close to the 40s.
Yeah, and Danny Dispenza, the RBI champion from Flash. And then the triple champion, we actually had
5.
they were tied with 5. Jason Ganick from Moneyline and Jeff Mastari from the 45s.
Okay.
Each hit 5 triples. And for a while there, Ryan Russ had 4 triples early in the year, but he didn't seem to get another one. Then we get to the doubles. They both had 12, and that was Spencer Mahoney of Signature and P.J. Raines from Flashback, and they had 12. The total hits leader last year was P.J. Raines. He had 41 hits. So those were the individual award winners, and they all had great years. Everybody who made the first and second team. And if you're watching, I'm going to be texting the first and I'm going to be texting everybody. I do have a lot of these plaques. We're going to hand them out Saturday at the North-South, weather permitting, keeping our fingers crossed. And we're going to take pictures and interview you guys. We're going to have a little area set up there. And we're going to get you your plaques, and then we're going to put it all together. If we have time during the tournament, we may throw a couple of short interviews up when we're not live streaming. And it should be pretty nice for everybody. We figure everybody who's getting these awards pretty much are going to be playing in the tournament, and they should be in the park Saturday, so we should be able to get it all done. And as a bonus, you guys should be wearing your jerseys, which will be nice when we take the pictures. So keep that in mind. Now we get to, I'm going to hold off on the big announcement because I do want to say we'll be out at the Ironman, SSA Ironman tournament tomorrow at Clyde Park. Interesting concept. I think there's, I want to say 7 or 8 teams in that tournament. Francisco Arenas is running it. And it's kind of pool play and then single elimination. So you got to play like 5 games or whatever it's going to come out to win the tournament. And it should be a lot of fun. Francisco told me he named the trophy after me this year, so I'm kind of humbled by that. So we'll be out there. We'll be live streaming that a little bit. But now the big announcement is through the generosity of Jordan Dean and HQ athletes, we will be doing Game Changer at the Exarnic Class A No Glove National Championship Tournament. And you might say, well, okay, what's the big deal? Well, one of the things that I always wanted to do when we started the summer series was not just to do it at the major level, but to try to figure out how to do it at the Class A level. And as you all know, we're a non-for-profit. We work real hard to try to get sponsorship, and it took us longer than I would have hoped to get the Chicago Summer Series up and running. But now that we have it up and running at the major level, we're going to do like a mini summer series for the Class A and B teams that go to the No Glove A and to the Glove A in Carroll Stream. So even though there are all tournament teams, we're going to do like a combined taking into account both events and kind of come up with a all summer series type first and second team, etc., for the Class A and B guys. And if it goes well, we're hoping to continue to do it in the future. That's why, and I'm going to click over. If you want to reach out to us about being a corporate partner, if you do donate to us, this is where your dollars go. They go to the live streaming, these shows, the Chicago Summer Series, and being able to just promote the game and try to encourage the younger players to keep playing and to keep advancing up the ladder, if you will. And hopefully, the A and B teams are going to enjoy that, and will enjoy it in the fall when we, name the major level Chicago Summer Series and then the Class A, B Chicago Summer Series type teams. So just a little bit of an announcement for you guys. So we're moving, always trying to move forward, Jerry.
Pushing the needle. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. Part of my greatness.
Well, if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. And, we're always trying to make the game a little more fun and make it a little bit more interesting. And for the Class A and B guys, they playing a lot more events, really, than the major guys do. The major guys playing the Summer Series events, obviously. But the A and B teams, sometimes they don't get a chance because the TOC's got a limited field, so does the Midsummer. But this is an opportunity for some of those Class A and B kids that, really want to win a Class A no glove or a Class A glove to maybe get a chance to get a little notoriety or get their due, and as I like to say, their day in the sun.
That's a very, once again, that's very admirable of you to do this, and I'm sure, and I can say one thing, in all seriousness aside, that the A and B teams really appreciate the fact that you come to these parks, and the live you give when you do a major game is the same intensity, it's the same excitement that when you do an A and B game. And They greatly appreciate it. I'm just being honest with you today.
Thank you, Jerry. But, Jerry, you've been around our board now, and the one trait that everybody who's on our board shares is we're all softball geeks. We love the game. We've been involved in the game for a long time, and, we're all trying to give something back. And, 16 years ago, the game was sliding off the cliff a little bit, and I'd like to think that we pulled it off the edge there a little bit. And so, but with that being said, you can always get better, and that's what we try to do every day. So on the way out, we'll mention Sweet Buzz again by Dresco Farms. If you use infused products, give them a call. Big supporters of the SSA. And, kind of blew the logo up. That's okay. Sorry. And, of course, Cut Shot Bats, 16-inch softball bats, the official bat of the Slow Pitch Softball Association. Check them out at cutshotsports.com. And in the future, we'll have more information about Athletes HQ. They do a lot of good work there, a lot of training, and they do baseball stuff. And Jordan Dean and his group, just tremendous. Thank you, Jordan, for jumping in. And I also like to thank Buddy Bear Car Wash. They're pitching in this year as well for some things that we're working on. And
don't forget about my guy, the great George Bliss.
Yeah, George is tremendous down in Sarasota. I'm sure he's watching the show and laughing at the two of us. But I'm having a little problem with my
Miss you, Bliss.
Slideshow. We all miss George.
Well, I miss him a little bit. We have a different type of relationship. The two great announcers like Bliss and I, we share a common bond. There's a room for certain people like Bliss and I, which others can't enter.
The only question is it upstairs or downstairs?
No comment.
Okay. But yeah, we miss you, George. We hope that you're going to be out and about, and that we get to see you at some point this summer. And he's loving Sarasota, I know that. So thank you, George, for mentoring me as well.
You didn't listen.
Yes, I did. Stop causing problems. Bro.
Okay, now you can cut me off, George.
So that's our wrap-up show. It went a little longer than I thought it was going to go, almost an hour and a half, but we did have a lot of stuff. We covered a lot of ground. We will be back next week with a North-South Challenge preview show.
I can't wait.
They are doing that draw on Monday out in Willow Springs at Coach's Corner. So you A and major teams, anybody wants to go to the draw, it'll be at 7 p.m. Also, there are a few teams that we want to remind you we need rosters. SSA deadline is usually the first night of the North-South, but if you're in the North-South, I need your roster sometime over this weekend so I can get you into the game changer. So I'll be reaching out this weekend and on Monday once I get the final team list. And, I'll probably post something on Facebook with the link to the roster. So if you weren't in the TOC or the Cinco de Mayo, you will need to give me a roster, and we need to get you into the game changer. So with that being said, any final thoughts, Jer?
No final thoughts. Once again, like I said before, I say it again, the SSA is the hottest thing cooking, and we hope to keep doing a great job for you all, and hope you guys enjoy softball as much as we do.
And there you have it. Gio, Jerry, we love you. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you out at the fields.